Hi, hello everyone. It's Alfred here. So today I'll talk about how to create a good storyboard and have a sequence of storyboards to help tell your story, as well as how do we cut it into panels so that we can put it in Premiere to create 2D animatics. Okay, so let's watch a video to see more about storyboarding. Let's get started.
Hey guys, I'm Kevin. You might know me as the sound guy at RocketJump Film School, but I've also storyboarded some of our shorts and shows. I'm going to share some of the basics about storyboarding with you today. Storyboards are illustrations that represent the shots that will ultimately make up a movie. They allow you to build the world of your film before you actually build it. There aren't any strict exacting rules on how to do storyboards. Conveying information is what's important. Storyboards are ultimately a technical document, a tool. So it doesn't matter if you're a skilled illustrator or not. This can work just as well as this.
The waiter could take care of this. Yeah, it's no problem. Tell him to put it on my tab.
Even if you struggle with perspective or can barely draw a stick figure, you can still convey what types of shots you want and their basic composition. Who storyboards? Typically, the director sits down with a storyboard artist to help articulate their vision. However, it's not uncommon for cinematographers and production designers to join in the process as well. At RocketJump, I usually meet with the director and produce rough thumbnail sketches that summarize the important information in each panel, and then afterward I'll fill in the details on my own, meeting with the director once again after completing the panels to make sure everything works. We'll then share the completed panels with the rest of the team. So let's break down the parts of a storyboard. The panel, or frame, is a rectangle that represents what the camera will see. Panels come in a bunch of different shapes. Pick a panel shape that matches your shooting aspect ratio. Square, widescreen, really widescreen. A person drawn really small in the panel is a wide or establishing shot. A big head taking up half the panel is a close-up.
What an excellent day for an exorcism. You'd like that?
Deciding where you put the person in your frame is the basis of your composition. This may seem really basic, but this has a huge impact on how you prepare for your shoot. These illustrations give your cinematographer a starting point. Things like camera angles, lighting, depth of field, the whole gamut of decisions can be informed by the storyboards. It's also a great way to decide what you'll need out of your locations. Do you really need a giant bottomless pit? Or can you get away with one visual effects wide shot and then cover the rest in tighter shots? Okay, let's talk about arrows. So now that we have a panel with a character in it, let's say that character is moving to the left. By drawing an arrow pointing to the left, we show where that character, or door, or dinosaur, is moving. There's no real rule to drawing arrows, and everyone has their own personal style. But what's important is that your arrows are easy to read and make sense. Here's some examples of arrows. Arrows for characters moving towards camera. Arrows for characters moving away from camera. This character's kneeling down. And this character's head is falling off. Arrows within the panel usually mean a subject is moving in the shot. Arrows around the edges usually imply some sort of camera movement. So here, the raptor lunges right, and the camera pans left. Now let's talk about camera movement. Camera movement arrows also aren't really standardized, but let's go over some common ways camera movement is illustrated. Dolly movements are typically done with one arrow, often narrowing a little bit to suggest movement in or out of 3D space. Both dolly shots and zooms can also be illustrated by placing arrows in all four corners of the panel. This shows a widening, or narrowing, of perspective. You can draw a panel within your panel to show how far your dolly or zoom goes. Clearly conveying information is key, so it's better to over-explain than to confuse people. Pans are often shown with an arrow on the side of the panel, either pointing to the left or to the right. Tilts up and down are done much the same way, except with the arrows at the top or bottom of the panel. You can also elongate the panel to fit the entire shot in a single drawing. Since this can get a little confusing, it's okay to make a note indicating whether or not the shot is tracking versus panning or dollying versus zooming. because arrows are often used the same way in both instances. You can make your notes beside the panel or in the arrow itself. Sometimes you'll need more than one drawing to illustrate what's happening in a single shot, especially if it's a really complicated action or camera movement. When you take panels with angle, composition, on-screen movement, and camera movement, and then combine these panels into a sequence, you have the foundation of your movie. Storyboards are particularly useful for preparing scenes that require multiple effects techniques. For this scene from Truck Flipper vs. Bus Puncher, we used storyboards to decide what was going to be stunts, what was going to be practical on-set special effects, what was going to be green screen, and what was going to be CGI, based on exactly what kind of action was needed in each specific shot. Without planning ahead, a scene like this would have been impossible to shoot in the amount of time we had available. Storyboards are typically created based off a completed script, but if you're doing a story that's extremely visual, storyboards essentially can be your script, like with Mad Max Fury Road. Since it's such a visual film, the beats were more effectively planned out with pictures than with text on a page. While this is an extreme example, this holds true for preparing all visually complex scenes. There's also plenty of other alternatives to storyboarding. Stanley Kubrick used actual photos from his location scouts to find his compositions. It's also worth mentioning that filmmakers who adapted comics and graphic novels often use the original artwork essentially as storyboards from the final film. You can make animatics of your sequences on your computer to include motion and timing. You can also videotape your previs, which is really useful for complex action. You don't need the actual set, costumes, or magical flying speeder bikes to test out your ideas. In the original Star Wars, George Lucas used real World War II documentary footage to help pre-visualize the space battles.
Here they come.
Animation has also been used to help capture complex sequences. Jurassic Park used stop-motion animation to revisualize the dinosaur scenes. When the decision was made to use CGI in the final film, they had already planned ahead in painstaking detail and knew exactly what specific movements the CGI was going to need to be able to do. By the time Peter Jackson did the Lord of the Rings trilogy, digital technology had developed to the point where they were able to motion capture the cave troll sequence, and then move a digital camera around in 3D space to pre-visualize the entire scene in a virtual setting. There's no hard and fast rules or one way to do it. But the ultimate goal is planning and clear communication. So whatever tool is going to help you prepare and share your vision the most, use it. It'll pay off when you get to set, and will help empower you to make the best film possible. If you have any questions or would like to share some of your own storyboards, please visit our forums. I'll see you next time, guys. Hope you didn't get bored.
Alright, so this is a really cool introduction to storyboarding by the RocketJump Film School, and I hope you enjoyed it. I think it really shows you how powerful the storyboard is and how useful it is for us to do storyboards and a sequence before jumping right into the final video shooting and animation. So you will have a very good planning based on the information that you put on the paper, and as well as discussion with your peers or with your supervisors as to how to create your story better. Okay, so as you improve on your storyboards, you will get better versions of storyboards, and you'll see that you don't really need to be really very good at drawing for storyboarding. So even if drawing is not very good, as long as you can convey the message, you will essentially be very useful. thing I also like to point out on this frame over here, I think what's interesting is that it actually uses real life set. So it's like if you go location scouting and then you kind of have an idea of where you put your cameras and where the humans are supposed to be, where you are shooting from the angle from, the limitations like this. So if you already have some ideas of what you're going to do, you can also plan it into your storyboard. Okay, because a lot of times we may not have this information yet. So it depends on how you go about doing it. But if not, you can just go the traditional way of drawing it out first and then try to fit an angle like this during the filming itself. So let's look at another video. So this video shows you, that storyboarding for people who can draw works just as well, because at the end of the day, it's kind of like just an information. So this is by Indie. So this YouTuber, another YouTuber, and let's watch the video from here.
Like a preschooler with not a lot of talent. But you don't need to be really good at drawing to be a good storyboard artist. The important thing is that you can interpret what you've drawn and that you can effectively translate them into the images you want. To demonstrate just how bad an artist you can be and still make this work, I'm going to use a few very quick excerpts from the short film script that I've been working on. And no laughing. Oh no. Here's an excerpt that I showed in the screenplay episode a few weeks ago, where the cabbie adjusts his rearview mirror to see William in the back seat. Now, as you can see here, that's supposed to be the cabbie's head in the foreground, that is William in the mirror, those are supposed to be the buildings, that's supposed to be the street. So as you can see, I'm not very good. And just make it so you can identify the characters. Like, I know that that's William in the back seat because of that really well-drawn cowboy hat that's on him. It's a pretty still shot, but alongside your storyboards, you can add notes that tell you things like the lighting. In this case, I wanted William's face is in shadow. Now, I already sort of shaded in his face to get that across, but just so that people understand that, if they look at this and can't quite understand what I've drawn, William's face in shadow, except for brief flashes from exterior light. You can also say the action that's supposed to take place, cabbie adjusts to the mirror. I'm not drawing a really bad arm reaching up, but, it will be understood that that happens in the shot. Here's a line from later in the script. Now he kind of does the dramatic turn back, and says his line. Now, if you want to show on-screen movement, you can use arrows within the frame. In this case, I'm showing that his head is turning around, but not his body. You can use this for anything. You can use it for walking. You can use it for any small movement that you feel you can animate just using an arrow. You can do that. Now, in this shot, I also want the camera to push in. Now, I could draw a second closer picture to show that that's what I want to have happen, and then just label it accordingly. It's something I'm going to show in just a second. But in this case, I can show that the camera needs to push in just by doing this. I've drawn what the final framing will be. These arrows here show that the camera will push in. Now, just to show that it's a push and not a zoom, again, down in the notes, camera pushes in from medium to close-up. Now, I've got the shot where the car full of the thugs is driving up slowly and they're all looking away from the camera out at the parking lot and the building in the background, looking for a particular car. Now, I drew the worst car ever, but for the actual framing, I wanted it to be tighter, so I've adjusted the frame accordingly. You can actually draw the rest of the picture and just keep the frame for visual reference as to how it's supposed to look when it's shot. And again, I want the camera to move, but this time not, pushing in or zooming in, but I actually just want it to track along with the car. This is easier to get across if you use arrows that kind of cross the line from outside the frame into inside, and in this case, just for reference, I've written track. It's pretty simple. Drawing a car is not as simple for me. Now, this is if you have one long shot, but you want to show multiple frames to show what the action's going to be. This one is going to be a shot that starts off on the ground, showing the door of a car opening, the legs stepping out, the camera pushes in and raises up and shows the character William there, raising his gun and about to fire. Now, as you go through your storyboards, you should number them, and if you have multiple frames for the same shot, you would just label it 1A, or whatever number A, then B, then C, etc. Now, that's just a few brief storyboards for me, but they're good examples of what you can do when you really can't draw. But you do have other options. If it's a quicker shoot and you just sort of quick notes on how things need to look, you can actually do small thumbnails in the margins like this one here, which is just going to be a two-shot of the two characters in the cab, and I didn't need to do anything fancy, I just show that the two characters are sitting alongside each other, facing the camera. That's the framing. Nothing fancy. But it's good to have on set if that's all you can do. Some people don't like to completely visualize it, they just like to make a shot list. They have a list of shots that they want to get, like extreme close-up, insert, master shot, and they'll just in writing describe what they want. And those can also be put in the margins. There are also computer programs that you can use.
Okay, so I'm just gonna stop the video here because I don't really like the computer programs that he used at the end. And but I think the front of the video kind of really shows you how really easy it is to just sketch out your ideas as a director of your own film. Like even if your drawing is not fantastic, you can definitely draw the composition and the kind of shots you want and convey it to other people, or to just make your own panels makes more sense, and be able to visualize all the panels equally on the sheet of storyboard paper. It will be really useful. So yeah, so let me show you one of my storyboard panel template. So this is a template I have, and it's recommended that you put in all your drawings over here, and then obviously this settings here is 1920 by 1080, which is 16:9. It's one of the default most popular aspect ratios that we have, and it's very useful. So this is the template, and you can just build this up. So let me show you a finished one. So if I go to this folder here, and okay, so this is some storyboard panels I grabbed from Zootopia. I'll show you the clip later, and you can see that just looking at all the storyboards here, you can have a rough idea of how the story is going to go out. So it starts off with an establishing shot, like a wide shot, and then you have the characters moving into the center, and then they are kind of moving towards here. So by right, I'm supposed to add in the arrows here, but because this was captured from animatics, so they don't really need the arrows like this, because they actually have many frames to go on. So this is frame number 3, 2, and 1. This is number 4, and then the expression of the girl changes as their dialogue goes, and she realized that okay, she's in a rush, and all the government workers are sloths. So that is the humor and the interesting thing that is going on in that shot, in this sequence here. By laying out all the storyboards like this, you will be able to gauge the camera angles and the information of how you're going to film this very easily, as well as put in the music or the sound you want, and plan all this in sequence with the timing. So for example, if you're doing a 1 minute 60 seconds short film, you can put all these panels into Premiere and cut them into 2D animatics, and have a very good gauge of how the 1 minute, how long it's gonna look, and how the characters have enough time to walk, or have enough time to finish all their talking and their animation over here. Okay, so I'll just show that clip where I grabbed the storyboards from.
Flash is the fastest guy in there. You need something done, he's on it.
I hope so. We are really fighting the clock, and every minute counts. They're all sloths? You said this was going to be quick.
Well, are you saying that because he's a sloth he can't be fast? I thought Zootopia anyone can be anything. Flash, 100-yard dash. Buddy, it's nice to see you.
Nice to
See you. 2. Hey, Flash, I'd love you to meet my friend. Darling, I forgot your name.
Officer Judy House, how
I am doing just
fine?
as well as I can be. What can I do?
Well, I was hoping.
Alright, so this is like 1 minute or 1 minute 20 seconds of the clip here that I got, and it just shows you how the storyboards is being translated to the final animation on the screen here, to the final movie, and you can see how closely it relates when the 3D animators just do the animation and the sequencing, planning of the shots, everything based on what they have in the animatics in the storyboards itself. The
Every minute counts.
the team has to follow this for animation because it's even more closely needed for a 3D animation pipeline. They have to do the lip sync, which is the animation of the words on the character's mouth, as well as the 3D animation is a lot of tedious matching of the timings here. And that's where all this sequencing and the planning of the shots in the 2D animatics is so important. Okay, so this is just another example to show you why we have to do 2D animatics based on this, and I'm gonna show you how we can cut these panels that I have into a 2D animatics. So here I open up my Premiere. Okay, so look closely here. I'll just create a new project, and I'll browse the location to a folder that I set before. So in this case, this is the folder has the course name and the 2D animatics. Yeah, maybe I'll just call the 2D animatics. Okay, so the display format and the video, I'll just leave it as default, and later we'll change the size at the sequence itself. So once you click OK, you'll open up this project in Premiere, and this is your default screen in Premiere. And over here on my bottom left, I have this project window. So this is a project window, and this is where you import all the media here, and the timeline here is where you put in all your clips to create the video itself. Okay, so maybe for the start, I'm just going to create a new item called a sequence, and then I'll just select from here. So the default, you'll probably put you somewhere here in dbpal, and you can see that the frame size is a little bit too small. So this is 720 by 576, so it's not really what we want here. We want to have a really high res, and in today's knowledge, most probably will use 1080p. So for DSLR, this is more suitable. Then I'm just gonna choose these settings: 1920 by 1080 frames per second. You can choose which you want. So if you're doing more for animation, you can actually choose 24p, 24 frames per second. Then if you're doing film, I would recommend 25 or 30 frames per second. Excuse me. So let me call this 2D graphics. Okay, so now I have a sequence, and we can still check our settings here. So the frame rate is 30 frames per second, and then the video information is 1920. The audio is pretty high, the highest settings, and we are good to go. Okay, so before that, I have already, in this folder, I've sorted some of our clips here. So first I have the reference videos, which is the video I downloaded from YouTube just now. The sound is the sound from the clip I downloaded also from the YouTube video. The Zootopia clips, this will show me all the clips of every shot. So every shot is, you can see every shot is from the first sequence. So for my naming convention, I always start with sequence 1, and then the second number is actually means that shot 2, shot 3, shot 4. So this is shot 4, this is shot 5, shot 6, shot 7, shot 8. So this is how I normally name my files. So if I were to look at it in a listed format, so everything is in the same sequence. Sequence 1 and then 10 shots in here. So shot number. So the second number stands for shots. Okay, and then for the storyboards, I have let me bring this other board into Photoshop, and I've actually cut these panels early. So this is how I did. The numbers starts from range from 01 to 13, and this is based on the video that we saw just now, and then I cut these panels out. So 01, 02, 03, 04, 05, 06, 07, 08, 09, 10. Okay, so when you cut out the panels here, now you can easily bring it into Premiere. Okay, so how do I actually do that before? So I have everything laid out in my storyboard panels here, and then now this layer is just flattened. I would just do a marquee selection. So this is done using when you press M on your keyboard, and you go to this button here. So you select a rectangular marquee, and I'll just create a selection over here like this. Don't have to be too exact, but since it's the first panel I'm doing, I'm gonna make it pretty tight to the frame. And then what I did is I actually used a paint bucket, which is G, and then I added a red color here. So this paint bucket will be my sort of like a cutout panel for me. And every time I want to bring up my selection here, I'll just use this to cut out. So I'll just control click on this button here, control, or I call command, and it will show you that it's trying to grab the marquee selection again based on whatever red color that is, and I'll just press the eyeball button so it disappears. So I don't need the red color, it is there just for me to grab this selection. So every time I grab this selection, and then I'll do a crop, image crop, and I'll save this as image number 101. After that, I go back to history, I undo it, and then I press M again, and I move the marquee selection to the right. When I'm moving, I'm holding down shift so that it kind of moves in a straight line. And now what I do is I do a crop, and Control Shift S, save as JPEG 02. All your reference boards and all your storyboards, save them as JPEG. Okay, never save them as PSD, because PSD are working files. You are supposed to work fast when you are working in production, and you can easily open JPEGs and image files in any OS. You know, you don't need Photoshop to do that. If you are opening everything up in Photoshop, it's a waste of time, giant waste of time. You don't know how many times you need to open up the storyboards and the reference boards that you need, and these are all save time if you just put all the panels that you have confirmed as the JPEG file. Okay, so always do that. Okay, so I'm just showing you how I could always use the marquee to move and do the next drop and save it out, and that way you have all the selection in. Okay, so let's say now I accidentally remove my selection, so my selection is gone. I did a deselect, and how do I get it back? Okay, I want the exact same size. Okay, so I just control click here. See, now I got back the marquee again. So it's a handy way for me to just save my selection, and of course the other way is to add it to the alpha channel. So I go to channel and press new here, and then you create an alpha, and I'll set this to white. So every time if I want to do it, I can go to the alpha channel and press control click. It gets my selection back as well. So this is the same way, just that it lies in another tab, which is the channels tab. So it's slightly an extra step in this case. So I'd rather use this as just a kind of temporary file for me to grab all the images. Okay, so that's what I did, and that is how I'm able to get 13 images of storyboard panels cut out. And so I'm going to close this file, and this is how I got all my cutouts here. So once you have all the cutouts, it's not in the full resolution, but at least all the aspect ratio is the same. Okay, you can see that the film itself is actually more widescreen. Okay, so this is probably like, let me guess, 239 is to 1. So the aspect ratio is more like the film aspect ratio. So let me just copy that and put it in, so I could just check the image size over here. So 239, yeah, so it's pretty close. So it's 239 is to 1000. So the aspect ratio is actually 2.39 is to 1. Just saying. Okay, so even if you like a tighter aspect ratio, you can still use this storyboard template to do what you want, and then you can just add in a small black framing at your corners here, top at the bottom, and you can publish this as 1920 by 1080 film. Okay, so that's not too big of a problem. Okay, so back to this, go to Windows Explorer. I got all this cut out here, and now I want to bring these files into Premiere. Okay, so if I were to import in one by one file import, it's gonna take quite a bit of time. So I have to select one by one, and you can do that. So I can do that for the sound, just to show it. Sound, and then bring in the sound, and then the sound puts over here, and then you can create a folder here, create a new bin is a folder, and then I call it sound, and then I put the sound inside here. So everything is in a folder. This is how you organize things in Premiere, and just keep your sequences outside. So this symbol here means that it's a sequence, and everything else like videos, you could have a folder for videos, folder for JPEGs, folder for storyboards, folder for music, sound, and you organize them this way. It's much more organized. Another way I like to do is to just straight away do a drag and drop. So right now I've selected these two folders. This one has all the video clips. This one has all the video storyboards. And just delete these extra ones that I demonstrated just now. And I can just drag and drop both of these onto the tab, drag it in, and release at the project file here. This is my favorite way to do it, because I much prefer organizing it in the Windows Explorer, so I keep everything neat and tidy, and I want my files in Premiere to look exactly the same. So you can see that it actually works. So the drag and drop, I've got in all the clips, I've got in all the storyboards, it works exactly the same. So I can view my storyboard, looks like this over here. Storyboard 2 looks like this, but what I want is the actual cutout. Okay, So those cut ones, 01 to 0 to 13, I put them over here. And notice that I put this 0 in front here. So this is very important. If I don't have the 0, later when I put this whole folder in, it will not arrange itself so neatly. So because I have this 0 number in front, I can just drag and drop this whole button and put it on top. Oh. So see, this is really good. Okay, so I'm dragging this button here at the bottom, and it just lets me zoom in and out of Premiere. I'm just zooming in a little bit more, and I'm showing you this clip. So by default, each JPEG that get put into a sequence is 5 seconds. So this adds up to be around 1 minute and 5 seconds. Okay, so pretty cool. So you can see this spacing here. That's a lot of extra space. So we need to scale up our stuff. So just now when we did a crop in Premiere, sorry, when we did a crop in Photoshop, we only keep the aspect ratio the same, but actually the scale of the things has been broken, isn't it? So let me show you this. So just now when I crop it like this, if I go to image size and check it out, so too bad, only 910 pixels by 508 pixels. So we can also scale this up on our own, but it's a little bit extra work to do it for so many panels. So actually we can just do this in Premiere itself. So we go to scale, put it up to like 200% or maybe 210%. And then it's pretty close. I can still see the edge is a little bit black on the outside, so I'll just push it up a little bit more. So okay, so this scale seems pretty good. Okay, so you can see this scale is pretty good, working pretty well just now. I'll just Ctrl Z to bring that back, and you can see that now there's this FX button added on to my JPEG here. Okay, I'll just right click and copy. So actually what it does is that it will actually copy attributes. So later we can do a paste attributes to it. So although it didn't tell you, but when I copy this whole thing, which is what I did over here, so I right click on this and then I do a copy, I'll actually be able to paste the attributes to other files later. Okay, so I already copied it. Okay, let me just double check I copied it. And now I want to apply the scale reference to all these selection here. So I'll just drag like this, select all, right click, paste attributes, scale attributes, and then everything I think is fine. I can just use the default settings and then press OK. That's what I'm gonna do. So now all these panels are scaled up, and this is how you can just scale up all your JPEGs that you cut from Photoshop into Premiere itself. So very fast. Okay, now I'm gonna drag my sound in, so I'm gonna drag the whole sound folder, which has my sound, so I can try to match the sound.
Flash is the fastest guy in there. Need something done, he's on it.
I hope so. We are really fighting the clock, and every minute counts. Wait. They're all sloths?
Okay, so you can see that although I've dragged in the sound, and because I didn't really match the sound properly, like some of the panels should be faster like this. So this will take some time to match up. But the whole idea I'm showing you this is that this is where it starts to put everything together and everything starts to make sense. You are able to use the images that you created, the drawings and the story panels that you have, and then use the music, use your sound, and to put everything together to sync. Okay. And what I did is, firstly, this sound file is 3 minutes long. Okay, so I'll just open this up. You can see. But the files we want to do is only 1 minute. Okay, so I'll just do a C for razor, which is a cut tool, and then my selection is over here at this timing right now. So this blue line shows that currently I'm at this time, and when I apply a razor here, I'll cut directly at this time. So also because my snap is on, so this manic button is called snap, snap. So when you're on snap, it will just snap accordingly to the line that we have, as well as all these lines over here, all these every single one of these lines, even the front lines and the back lines, all these are able to snap. So if you have different video clips overlapping on each other, so let me use blue color. So maybe you have different clips overlapping on each other, and you need to think about whether you want to keep the snap on over here when you are cutting stuff, because as they overlap, you may not get the exact area that you want to cut. So just play along with this sometimes, and then you get what I mean. This is snap. Okay, so right now it's very simple. I'm very sure that I'm gonna cut over here when I snap it, when the video ends. So I can also use my arrow key here. So arrow key on your keyboard, left, right, top, down. So I'm just using left and right, and you can see my numbers. This number here is changing frame by frame as I press the arrow. Back and forth, back and forth. So this is the left arrow, I'm moving one frame backwards. This is the right arrow, I'm moving one frame forward. And I'm just gonna right arrow until the frame that it becomes black. See, these two frames is where I want it to cut exactly. And I'm just gonna do eraser and cut over here. And then the rest of the sound I will not need it at all. So just now I did eraser and cut over here, and then I use another selection tool B, and then I selected this behind, and then I deleted it. So this is how I will do the cut a 1 minute clip. Okay, so if you want the sound to be slightly longer, or the music, you can also just extend it out by using this button, this B button here, and then you just extend it out. It will bring the clip back essentially if you were to just drag it out. Alright, so next what I'm gonna do is I'll not do it slowly to fix all the timing here. So I'm just gonna show you my final product, and then you have a look. So I'll open the clip and the things over here. Okay, so this is the one with the correct timing. So just now we drag and drop all the storyboards here, remember? And then we actually have all these JPEGs here for only 5 seconds, but the timing is not right, so we need to sync it. So the one on the bottom one, this one is where I spent some time to sync it to the animation timing, and this is the one that looks right. So I'll just delete this on top, and I'll show you now how it works.
Flash is the fastest guy in there. Need something done? He's on it.
I hope so. We are really fighting the clock, and every minute counts. Wait. They're all sloths?
I'll just fast forward a bit. I think you get the idea.
You said this was going to be quick.
Are you saying that because he's a sloth he can't?
So if I were to put the animation clips on top, the video clips that I cut, you'll see that how it's gonna work together. So these are all the animation clips.
Flash is the fastest guy in there. Need something done? He's on it.
I hope so. We are really fighting the clock, and every minute counts. Wait. They're all sloths?
So you can see that when one of the best things that I feel like about the 2D animatics is that not only do you get the, I'll just top it off the eyeball for now so that you can see it. Not only do you get the, are you able to get the final result very quickly, you are also able to create the sort of a final project once you have get the footage of your video and your animation out. So what I'm saying is that for example, this sequence here in the middle, which is really long. Okay, so I'll just let you guys focus on this. So let's say you are filming this halfway, and then you have managed to finish filming just this sequence. You can just replace it into your file into the animatic, and then you will see the progress immediately in your final film. So the final film, you can use these animatics that you have as placeholders, and then when it comes to the scene that you have already finished filming, or you already added the effects, everything's finalized, you can just use it to playback, and then everyone
They're all
in the
sloths?
presentation, they will know exactly what progress you have done, and it works really well. So Premiere is a very good way that you can do this exchanging and re-importing of the shots. And I have students before, they were doing very complicated projects, and they are using the same concept that I'm doing here. So basically, over their whole project period, they know that they have 12 shots, and when they finished with one shot, they immediately put it into the 2D animatics, and they exchange it with they take out the drawing, then they replace it with their final clip, and they are able to see the final result right away. They're able to see whether everything works right away, and they have the music already on, they have the sound already on, and it works very efficiently towards the final film. Okay, so this is quite a long video. I hope you have learned something over here, and let me see if I miss out anything. And yeah, I think it's pretty clear so far. And do look into the how these reference videos over here. This one from RocketJump is really awesome. I'll put in all the links in the credits below, and you are able to just think about how you're gonna use arrows as well in your storyboard. Remember, the drawing is really not that important, but mostly how you position your arrows, how you frame your subject, how we understand from your information that you have given in your drawing. So you might not be a very great artist, but you should definitely be able to articulate and be able to communicate the information to the audience, which is us, through your storyboards. If not, there is really no point to do storyboards. And it is very important that you are able to convey all this information so that everyone is very clear, and the team can work together to move towards the final product. Okay, so yeah, so that's all I have, and I hope you enjoy it and know more about storyboarding. And thank you for your time, and see you guys again. Bye bye. Happy New Year. Bye bye.